In this video, I'm going to show you a plugin that will help you to style the front end of your website. Instead of logging into Oxygen to make the changes, you can make them on the front end. So just to show you some of the features, let's go here to our first content element here, standard Oxygen install with the atomic theme. And I just want to change the atomic design set styling. I'll click on it. I'll head over to my decoration. I'm going to change the background to red. I'm then going to change the text to white. Then I'm going to add some padding, and then I'm going to give that a border. So let's make that a 2-pixel border, and let's make it solid, and let's make it black. And then what I want to do is give that a border radius of 10, and maybe I want to give it a box shadow. So the box shadow, right, so that's how easy it is then to make some changes. Just to then go a little bit further, I'm going to head down here, say to Testimonials, and perhaps I want to highlight this Michael Young and make it look a little bit different to the others. Quite easy. I select Michael Young, and now what I'm going to do is head over to my decoration, and what I'm going to do is give this a 5-pixel border. We'll make that solid. And it comes out in black, but maybe that's a little bit too strong, so let's go with that, something grayer. And let's also give that a border radius of 10. And if I wanted to, I could also add a box shadow. I can also change the background color. So maybe just a little gray. Right, so now I've highlighted that particular item. Let's move down here, and maybe here item 3 is more important, but all I'm going to do on item 3 is just give it a border of, let's say, 5 pixels, and I'm going to make it, let's try something different. Let's go with dashed, and that's a little bit bright, so let's just tone that down a bit. Right, so there I've quite easily highlighted that particular item. But what if I wanted to have that particular dotted border on all the items? So to do that, what I'll do is I'm going to change from the visual view to the code view. And here you can see is the style that was created. And all I'm going to do now is remove the ID for that particular item. So now all those items are styled in the same way. If I want to bring just back to that particular item, then simply put the style back. If I select a different item, I could style this one completely differently, and in a similar way I could style that one differently. So let's head back here to our visual editor. Let's go to decoration, and what I'm going to do is style this one differently. So we'll give this one a, let's also make that 5 pixels wide. Let's make this one dotted, and we can change the color. So now if you have 3 items on your page, you can quite easily come in and just make each one completely different just by styling from the front end. So already you can see we're able to just make content elements a little bit more interesting by highlighting certain items. The other thing to look at quickly then is if we wanted to style the background of a section. So here I have my section at the top of the page. And what I'm going to do now is change the background. So I'm going to change the background to black. Right, let me save that. Before I go and look at this, all the changes on the front end, I'm just going to change that text color to white. Right, we'll save that. Now I head over to the website and refresh, and immediately you'll see that the first element is black. So it's the second, the third, and you'll see here that what I've actually styled is the inner content of the item, and what I actually wanted to do was the entire section. So quite easy. Head over to the editor here and head over to the inner wrap and just delete that, and then save, and then that change is reversed. So now when I refresh, you'll see that we're back to the way that it was. What I can do though is style the section. So I'm now going to head over here and click on section, and you'll see now that section appears here in the code editor, automatically added. I'm going to head back to the visual editor and make sure I'm on the section, and you'll see here in this drop down now that it's changed to section, so I know that I'm in the right place. And now I'm going to change the background to black, so that's more in line with what I was after. Right, so now I've styled the background black of the section, but as I scroll down you'll see that now anything in a section is going to have the black as a background color. So to change that, the easiest way, well, there are a couple of ways, but we just head over here and we just get the ID for that particular section, head over to the code editor, and then instead of styling all the sections that way, we just set the ID, and now only that section is styled. So we refresh our page, and now you can see that only that top section is styled in that way. So this also means now that I could style any section on the page in a different way. So if I quickly get my ID here, and the reason I do it here is just to make it easy because I can copy it and I can head back, and now if I want to manually add some styling I can paste in the section, and let's just add the tag for ID, and now opening and a closing brace, and I can now enter whatever I want. But the nice thing is that as I type, the autocomplete kicks in, and so it does make it quicker to add some code or to see what the correct syntax is. And now the background here, I might want to go with a gray, and if I scroll down to that section now, you'll see that it has this gray background. So I'm going to save that, and then I'm going to head over into my visual editor. Now I'm going to select that section. Now there is the section ID, but I can't edit that element directly here. What I need to do is go back to the coding and do the change over here. If I try to do it from the front end, I can only select, if I try and do it here from the visual view, although I can select the section, the style is going to be applied to section and not to that particular ID. What I can do though is then just come over here and let's have a look at the style number. So the style number is section 70224, and let's go here to the 70224. So we're going to select 70224 and head over to background. Let's make it red, and let's see if that is, and that has now taken effect. So once you have a selector listed in the code view, it's available in the visual view. So now that that is selected, I can make the changes that I want to make. So maybe that's too red. I'm going to change that a little bit. So always make sure that you have the correct selector here before making changes. So let's do a deeper red, and then we're going to change the color of the text. So we'll head over to text, and we're now going to make that white, and we'll make this a lighter gray. And now what we're going to do is just have a look at editing link text. So there we have link text edited. Now when I head back to the front end of the website, you'll see that that element is now styled in the way that I want. So very quick and easy now. We've changed that to black, enhanced the title, we've highlighted this particular element, we've changed the styling on the first and the last item. We could have added something to the middle one, and then at the bottom we've changed that styling, and all from the front end of the website in a couple of seconds. So those are the things that work really well. and that are really easy. When we start getting into dynamic content, it changes a bit. So to navigate to another page, I'm just going to show you how that works. Is I want to go to the shop page, so I select shop here, and then I see this changes on the navigate to section here option, and then I just select the page, and now I can navigate to that page. So that allows you to select links without navigating away from the page that you're on. So a good place to look at dynamic content would be here on the shopping page. So we have the shopping page here, and we want to make some changes. And there are a couple of things that happen when you're working with dynamic text or content. So I'm just going to, for example, show you some of the things work really well and easily. So I've selected this product, and when I scroll down and I look here in my selector, you'll see that a whole lot of classes have been selected or linked to that particular element. And as I move my mouse over the various elements, you'll see the highlight in blue for those elements. So here, for example, WooCommerce, UL, product, ally, or product, ally, product. So we'll select that one. And now what we want to do is just align all the text to the center for all the elements. So there we go. Alignment has now been centered. So that was pretty easy to do. The next thing we want to do is we have a product here that we really want people to notice. And that product that we want them to notice is this cap. So I want everybody to see this and have it highlighted and buy more caps. So I've highlighted the cap, and what I'm going to do now is head over to decoration, and I'm just going to change the background color for the cap, and I'm going to make it just slightly different to the others. And what I'm going to do is I think I'll just give it a border. Let's make it a really thick border. I'm going to make it solid, and maybe that's going to be a slightly kind of lighter but deeper red. So now I've kind of highlighted that product, and maybe just to give it a bit more, I give it a border radius. So when you're looking at the products now, that particular product stands out much more than the others. Now what I'm going to do is save that. Then I'm going to head over here to the shop page, and you'll see that that change has taken effect, which is great. Now I'm going to change the sorting. So I'm going to sort now by popularity. So we're just waiting for that to update. And now when I scroll, you'll see that the formatting on the cap has changed. And that's because of the way that the selectors are applied. So if I head back here and I go into my editing view, you'll see we have all these selectors for that particular item. And all we want to do is highlight product post number 58. So we're going to remove all of the other selectors, and we'll save that. And now when I sort by the latest, you'll see that was the, there we go, the cap is now showing with the red, and I can do it by popularity, and you'll see that the cap is still got the red background. So that's how we ensure that the background remains constant no matter what sorting options have been chosen. So that's really pretty simple. Then let's say on that cap you wanted to style it a bit more, and you wanted to change the title. So if I go along to the visual view here and I select the product title, so you'll see I have a couple of options here. So this is the loop product title. So I'm going to select that title. So you see now I've chosen a selector here, and it now updates here. So let's see about changing that text color. And now you'll see that the text color isn't changing. I'm going to go back and select the name, and you'll see that it's not changing as we had hoped it would change. When we look at the selector, we'll see that it's chosen the first one on the list. Right, so not all the items that you select to change are that intuitive that just by selecting that particular item you're going to get the change. So this is where it gets a bit tricky, because now you need to go and check the code and make sure that you have the right item. Other items though do work quite easily. So for example, if I selected the price and I changed, let's say the font weight there is a bit heavy, so I'm going to head over here to font weight and just make that 500. So there you can see the font weight is applied quite quickly and without an issue. So that does work, and you'll find that generally the elements that are linked to something else would show some of those anomalies. If I go here to the button, for example, so I've selected the product button. Now when you move over, you'll see which button I've selected. So that's not the button, the standard button. So if I want to add to cart and I move my mouse, you'll also see that the Ajax fired there. So what I'm going to do is start here with the top button. So that would be the normal selector. When you select the item, head over to the decoration, and you'll see that that also doesn't change the color. And if I head over to the last selector, you'll see that that also doesn't change the background color. But if I head over here to the background color, so bear in mind that I don't want that background color. I'm going to select the button, then I'm going to select the background color. So what you'll notice now is if I was in this mode and I had selected, so there we have the selector, and now if I select, you'll see now that the element is transferred from here to the left hand side, and you'll also see that that's not quite where I wanted it to be. So I can edit now in the area here and paste it somewhere else, and the normal editing would apply. But you can see it gets a little bit tricky when you're working with the different selectors as to which selector you need to use. So we don't want to use the A selector. The button loading is not the button. So yeah, it can get a bit tricky, and then it's a case of going to the front end of the website, inspecting that element and finding out what element was actually used. So in this case we can see that those were actually the selectors for the button, and we can then paste that in here, and now you can see that we can change the color. But we might have to override like that, and we don't really want to be messing with the styles like this. Giving priority, it just has an impact on the performance of the website. So there are some elements that you do need to take cognizance of when you're working with the more dynamic elements. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to copy that and I'm going to paste that in, and then we're just going to check for the same selectors here. So the first selector that we had there was a button, so that one we have. The next one that was on the list was the WooCommerce button, and then what we're going to do is go background of red, and we'll copy that to the second one too. Now something else that might happen from time to time is that you won't see a change in the editor, but the change might well be applied on the front end. So there you can see that the color has changed, but the color here hasn't changed. So that does happen from time to time as well. So you've just got to be cognizant of what you're working with, and when there are multiple classes applied to an element, sometimes what you have to do is apply, instead of the selectors come through individually instead of together. So these were the same selectors that were used if we right clicked and inspected the button. So we can see here that those are the classes that are used. So here in the back end, you just need to apply them individually to those classes instead of grouping them together. And then also bear in mind that may not have a change on the front end. So let's just go back to the visual editor. And if we do the drop down, you'll see that there's the WooCommerce A button. And now I'm going to make the change here. And then I'm going to select the second one. And the reason why the color wasn't pulled through is because it wasn't the hex value. So now if I head back to my code editing, we just take out that as background red. Right. So there we have it. The styles have been applied, but you don't see them in the editor, which is a pity. But they do come through on the front end of the website. So just to show you how on the dynamic side it can be a little bit frustrating, but when it comes to standard pages like the About Us, we're going to head over to the About Us page, and you want to make a change to, for example, here we have this element here which is behind, and we want to bring it forward. It's very easy then just to go into the layout, head over to the Z index, and just change that. Let me just make sure I've selected the right element. So I change it to 1, and then it's pulled to the front. So nice to do quick changes like that. Here I have an image. So that's the image, and maybe I want to just give that a border. So I'll head over to the decoration, and let's give it a border of 1 pixel. Let's make that solid. Right, now you'll see that the annual growth is a bit in the way. So quite easily then to head over to our annual growth and just add a background of white, and then we'll go to the layout. Let's give it some padding of 15, and then I'm going to give that a border as well. So maybe make that dashed, and then give that a border, and then maybe just change it from 1 pixel. So there we've just very quickly made that a little bit more interesting, that graphic, and then maybe we can just tone the color down a bit. So here in our border, something like that. So quite easy then to do that. And then I could also maybe head back to the image and then change the border radius to 20. So there we've just made that a little bit more interesting, and add some padding. Not on the section, we need to make sure the image is selected, and then we also see that there's some text here behind. So now what we want to do is access the text. So we could just, and let's go to layout. There we go. So we can just move that back. Let's move that text up 1. And then we can go back to the image. If you ever battle to select something, you can go into the code view, and then we'll just remove that Z index. So that's how relatively quick and easy it is to edit the CSS on pages. Come through here, head over to the visual view, sometimes just easier. Make that black. I'm going to change that text to yellow. So nice and quick and easy. Yeah, so the nice thing is that when it comes to editing small things on the front end, it's really quick and easy, and it does save quite a lot of time. So I'm going to change that to red on that one. This particular item, I can add padding. So always check that the selector here has changed. So let's give that a border. Right, so you get the idea that you can actually style each element differently to the others, and so, you know, make it really interesting because of the way that you do it. So text, text decoration, we'll underline that one, and this one here we'll change the text color to red. So I mean, you can see how we can style up an area really quickly. So that's pretty much just a quick summary then of how that works. And then what happens to your styles once they're saved is we then go back to the plugin, and inside the plugin here, all those styles that I've created are right here, and I have a choice now. So I can either view the elements in the quick view quickly, but if in the quick view mode and I close it, I come back to the back end. But if I open in the code view, I can go to the quick view mode and the visual mode, and then I can, by closing the visual mode, I'm back to the coding view. So nice, quick and easy way to edit the website from the front end. So very quick and easy on the kind of static elements, but on the dynamic elements it can get a little bit tricky. So you know, that would include things like your menu, for example. Not that easy to style from the front end, and a lot of toing and froing, checking out IDs and selectors. So that is quicker and easier to edit in Oxygen than it is to edit here on the front end of the website. But for all the other stuff, it's really quick and easy to make really interesting content really fast. So I hope you enjoyed that video. The plugin that you're looking for here is the SiteOrigin CSS plugin. And of course, once you're done, you can either move the CSS into Oxygen Builder, or you can leave it where it is. And just to show you that the styles are not added inline, they're actually stored in the database. So if we have a look here, and we look at the page source, you will see that there are no inline styles applied to the various items. Right. So that's how you can go about styling your Oxygen website from the front end. So I hope you enjoyed that video, and thank you for watching.